Good morning here, Valerie Milano, the senior editor of the Hollywood Times. I'm here in Palm Springs, California right now, usually in Hollywood, but I want to welcome our guest and I'm going to have him introduce himself. Thank you so much.
Hi everyone, Gino McKoy here, director and screenwriter of Lumina. Currently in Toronto, but I live in LA as well.
Yay. Thank you. Thank you for joining us, Gino. And I'm one of the lucky ones that's seen the film. And Gino, can you share some insights about your background and how you transitioned from being a musician to a filmmaker?
Oh wow. That's a long story, but I would love to give it to you. In a
Okay.
nutshell. Um, I moved to LA to do music and I decided I didn't want to sign with the major labels like Universal and a few of the other labels I was considering doing my music with. And I said, okay, if I'm not going to sign with the labels and I'm going to stay independent, how am I going to get my music out there? So I came up with an idea. I'm going to write and produce my own movie and put my music in my movie. And I went down that rabbit hole of screenwriting, and the first script I read was Heat by Michael Mann because I love Michael Mann stuff and I love that movie. And that's how I learned how to do screenwriting. I used to write a lot of short stories and poetry before, but this is the first time I wrote a feature film, a screenplay. And yeah, I wrote it in 2 weeks, and it was about the deep web and the Bitcoin. And I was the first person in Hollywood that wrote about the deep web and the Bitcoin. And yeah, I consulted with the FBI, the entertainment department with the FBI. And yeah, that's how I got started. And eventually, I wrote Lumina, and I wrote Lumina in about 7 days while I was in my family's house in Florida. And yeah, I wrote that in 2016, and then we shot during COVID. 4 years afterwards, was one of the most difficult times it was to shoot a movie, and we went through a lot of obstacles to get to this point. And yeah, then this is Lumina. This is the end result of all that hard work and that obstacles and going through like a very, very difficult time during COVID to shoot this movie and facing a lot of problems and issues. And I think that really gave us the experience and gave us like, um, I guess the metal to forge ahead and like, go down this route and, self-distribute and work with the theatrical chains and everything else. So yeah, that got us to this point with the
Thank
movie.
you. Yeah. So, sort of on that vein, what inspired you to pursue filmmaking, and how has your experience as a singer-songwriter influenced, or has it influenced your directorial style?
Um, I think what inspired me to do filmmaking was basically when I watched Star Wars as when I was 3 years old. So Star Wars was my favorite at that point in time, and that really got me into sci-fi and stuff like that. I always loved movies. I've always been an avid moviegoer. Watching a lot of independent cinema and foreign films outside of Hollywood stuff, and yeah, I've just always been into movies. And of course, how it transitions with my music and film is I incorporated a lot of my music in the movie. Um, Visually, I love visually stunning videos because I directed music videos before I became a feature film director in Hollywood. And I felt like, images are like paintings. It say a lot. Aesthetically, it has to be beautiful. So that's the reason that's what I took from doing aesthetically beautiful and also creative videos that are not the typical music videos that you see and incorporating that into my filmmaking style. And working with first time actors or dancers and trying to get them to act. I think like, um, the spending time even with directors like Tony Kaye and John McTiernan and a lot of big directors in Hollywood. And, John McTiernan did one of my favorite sci-fi movies of all time, which was Predator. And I spent like, a weekend with John and his wife, and we talked, and he wanted to direct one of my movies. And, it was kind of like interesting because the way how he approaches film is the same way I approach film as well too, right? So in terms of filmmaking style, in terms of like, how to direct actors and everything else and get the best out of the performances. I like going for like really real performances. I think sometimes, I've seen in some movies that, it comes off a bit flat with some actors, even watching some of the bigger films. So I wanted to make sure that, my actors are well prepared for this movie, and that, it feels it has a certain amount of authenticity to it, because we're dealing with a very sensitive topic, because, alien abduction was ridiculed before. A lot of people laughed at that, but now it's in the media. The Congress, that are congressional hearings, very sane, very intelligent people that have experiences with alien phenomena, from the military to the Navy to the other branches of the United States, have come forward and spoken about it. I've spoken to Marines, I've spoken to other people in the military, and they gave me their firsthand experiences in terms of what they have experienced in the field and outside the field. And it's a very real topic, and I thought this movie would bring, some light to that, and take away the stigma, or remove the stigma from what people feel, that, like, talking about this is a very, very sensitive topic, and people really, like, don't accept what they have to say. So I felt this movie in particular would shine a light on that, and especially from the fact of it's a love story, and how far would you go to save the person that you love if they're abducted by aliens? And I guess that was the underlying premise of it. And yeah, that
Yeah.
was my take in terms of transitioning from music to that.
You have talked about your initial inspiration behind Lumina. You've described the creative process from the conception of the idea kind of to the final script, if I'm
Hmm.
right.
Yeah.
You've talked about your interest in science fiction and space influence and the storyline of the themes of Lumina. Maybe you can provide a brief overview of the main storyline to our viewers, and the central character, and the themes that you're exploring through their journeys, if you can do that for us.
Well, in a nutshell, Lumina is about um, a boyfriend and a girlfriend, and he loses his girlfriend to alien abduction. And through that, he takes his friends on this crazy journey that takes them basically, to the desert and to faraway places, in order to search for their friend and his girlfriend, to find out exactly what happened. It's an underlying love story, and it deals with a lot of factors in terms of abduction, and like how that psychological effect affects the people around you, and the person that's closest to you. So the movie deals with a lot of themes in terms of, like, the underlying love story, but also how far will you go for the one you love? And if it's an alien abduction, is in a type of phenomena that's, totally unexplainable and different than any other type of abduction, like, child abduction, for example, or child kidnapping, is one of the most similar things you could talk about. Like, then we'll see exactly, you get to examine, and you get to see how the characters deal with that, and deal with that, like, extraordinary event, and how they go about, like, searching for this person, and see exactly, like, what happens. And that's the whole mystery to
Yeah, you did a great job, Gino, in approaching developing the unique characters in Lumina to ensure that the audiences, in my opinion, can connect with their experience and emotions. So, bravo on that. What
Thank
were
you.
some of the biggest challenges that you faced during the production of Lumina, especially considering the unique locations and the extreme weather conditions?
Oh wow. I think at first, it was our producer who worked with us on the film. He got in a plane crash.
Ooh,
He was flying from Toronto to Los Angeles, and his plane crashed in the Colorado mountains. Um, he was airlifted to the University of Colorado Hospital in Denver, one of the best burn units in the country. He survived that plane crash, and we visited him that time. And I spoke to him, and he said, we got to do the movie, and I said, yeah. in like he almost died, and he was in the bed, burns, everything else. A third of his body was burnt. He survived the plane crash, which was a miracle by itself. And they said, we got to finish the movie, we got to do this movie, and that was 2020. Um, we went to Morocco. It was during the height of COVID. Everyone was in lockdowns. Studios were shut down. There's a lot of flight restrictions, curfews, you name it. I think you probably remember that time in 2020 was very tough in LA. I was in LA at the time. Even had curfews in LA actually at one point
Yeah.
for us in Los Angeles. And it was during that time. And we had a lot of my A-list crew from DPs and everything else drop off of the project because they couldn't leave either because of family or they're on another project and they were afraid to go. They get pulled off if the studio pulled them off. If the studio project restarted, some people were just afraid to travel. It was a really rough time, and I went to Morocco with my team, a very small team, assistants, two assistants, Linda, myself, the other producers. Of course, David was recovering because of his plane crash, and my production designer. And from there, we assembled the team with the rest of the people, and we encountered an unscrupulous producer that tried to take money from us and delay the project. Because remember, people were out of work for a year and a half in the industry at that point. No one was working. There's a lot of people out in the industry that were not working in Hollywood, outside of Hollywood. And you see the ugly part of people in that point in time because they're short cash, they're short for money, and they see a project that's coming, and it's coming from Hollywood. It's an independent project nonetheless, and they try to take advantage of that situation, and that created a big problem for us. We He created a lot of problems there. That service producer in Morocco, and we had to get rid of him and go with another producer at that point in time. However, because of that, we had five casts that we had casted on board. Orlando Jones, Wallace Day, and a number of other casts we casted, and they walked off without any warning, without any reason. And they left, and we lost $500,000 because of that. And I had to recast the movie in a week and a half, and that's the cast I got right now. And when I told Eric about it, he was mortified. He was like, in a time when 9,000 actors applied for this movie in Hollywood, and we went out to the town, and we casted five of them, few from the UK, Orlando Jones and stuff from the US, and they walked off with the money, and they tried to sabotage the project, and they lied to SAG. And my attorney was one of the biggest labor attorneys at the time in Hollywood, who worked with the studios, and he proved SAG wrong, and we proved that we weren't liars, that we were treating everyone well, putting them in five-star hotels in Morocco, and everyone was safe when we were testing. And they did that because they wanted to leave and walk away with the money and not do the movie because it was COVID and they felt they could get away with it. Because some people could say, hey, you're not observing COVID protocol when we were, and walk away with money. And we recast the film. I had to do it in a week and a half with my casting director, Valerie McCaffrey. Valerie was a casting director for American History X and a number of other big movies. And Valerie and I recast it in a week and a half. And Eric flew out and he came to the movie. And despite some of the negative things people say about Eric, that Eric only acts in B movies or C movies, it's total BS because he's acted in some very big movies. Dark Knight, Babylon. He's a great actor. He's a great actor. He's a supporter of independent film. And I think during this time right now, we need independent film to be a voice for the movie industry. And that's something that I must say that Eric does. He brings to it, and he's a gentleman, and he's a very talented actor. It also depends on the script that you give the actor and the director in the movie. It's not always about, hey, any script you can do great on, though. I've seen A-list actors do terribly on movies because it was a B script and a B movie, but it was an A-list actor. So Eric came out, he supported the movie, we shot, I shot it in 27 days. Everyone was shocked. You know, we were shooting 14, 16-hour days, sometimes 20-hour days. Um, the weather was very cold in the Sahara at that time because it was winter. It's December 2020. Um, minus 10, 0 degrees. You know, we're shooting in the Atlas Mountains. Beautiful locations, great team. I had to replace the entire team with the service producer. I finally got some good one. I got a good one there, and we shot the movie. And the team was on par with the teams in LA. And you know, we wrapped. And initially, I had Christopher Plummer that was supposed to act in the
Yes.
role as Javert. And Chris and I are good friends. And you know, he got sick during 2020. I was supposed to go to Connecticut to shoot him out, and he said no. You know, it's better like, you know, not to, you know, create too much problems with the budget and everything else. He's very considerate. You know, he was a great individual, knowing him as a friend. And, you know, he said after you shoot the movie, we're gonna do the next one. And a week after I wrapped is when he passed away, when he died. Yeah. So it was a crazy time in 2020 and 2021, I must say. And Eric did an amazing job. He supports the film. The other actor supports the film. I think it was a blessing in disguise, even though Orlando Jones and the other actors left us and created a lot of problems for our movie, even though we are independent and we tried our best, you know, to make everyone great. And it's a testament to yourself because the actors that we ended up with was a blessing. They put their hearts and soul into it. They were passionate about the parts. They did an amazing job, and they showed that everything people were saying before were lies. And you know, I wanted to clear that up because you know we went through a lot to get to this point to distribute this movie. You know, from the plane crash to losing actors to getting everything off to facing a lot of different things in terms of discrimination in the industry and getting to this point. You know, even before we started our social media campaign for this movie 2 months ago, and we're tracking better than Maxine and Strangers and all these other titles. You know, over 70 million views on social media for our movie, you know, and over 100 million impressions and TV ads and billboards and subways and buses in LA. Some theatrical chains, some of the big ones, outside of AMC has been very supportive of this movie. Some of the theatrical chains have decided that they don't want to play our movie.
Yeah. Wow.
And that was, you know, a recent revelation that we got that it has nothing to do with our tracking, it has nothing to do with our popularity of the movie. It has to do with who I am as a director and who we are as a company, and the fact that we're creating a lot of competition for the studio titles as an independent, as one of the only independents to have such a large release for 2024.
Yeah. Wow. That was what I was going to say. With Lumina set for a wide release across what, over 2,000 theaters. You know, what are your thoughts and expectations for the film's reception by a broad audience? I mean, as an independent sci-fi film, you know, your impact, do you hope, what do you, Lumina will have on the genre of the film industry as a whole?
Well, I'm hoping that we give hope to other independent films that they could do this.
Yeah.
And I've got a lot of emails from sales agents and independent producers and publicists and actors and filmmakers saying that we're inspiring them to go out there to do their film, to go to theaters and to have a theatrical release. I don't know if we're going to get 2,000 because of the two chains boycotting the movie for reasons unknown to us, and a lot of people have cited discrimination. And sad to say, in this time that that's happening, but you know, we're gonna go as wide as possible. We have the support of AMC, so we have to thank AMC for supporting the movie, which is the biggest theater chain in the United States, and the other independent cinema chains that have been supporting us that we're gonna make up the rest of the movie, the rest of the screens with. But I hope I inspire like other filmmakers to do more independent sci-fi movies of the studio, that's outside the studio model. That you know will go out there and make their films and have some confidence that like you know, hey, we could go to movie theaters as well and show our movie, sci-fi, horror, everything else. There's a place for everything. And the reason why the cinema industry, especially the theatrical exhibitors industry, is struggling is because not enough independent films are supported at the theaters. If you don't have studio films making money, then theaters lose money. And like Regal and some of the other theaters are going into bankruptcy. We see why.
Mm.
Because they're not supporting independent films. And it's a big problem in the industry because you have so many independent filmmakers are making great movies,
Yeah.
and it's not getting theatrical distribution because they're not a studio, and because people are afraid to put money into P&A into a movie when they should. Because I remember the days when I was growing up and I watched movies like Philadelphia.
Yeah.
I watched movies like Forrest Gump. I watched movies like Rain Man. I watched movies like, Malcolm X and some of the other ones that were in theaters, and they were dramas, brilliant dramas, you know, Green Mile and stuff like that. Brilliant dramas that went to movies, they went to theaters, did 100, 200 million in the theaters. Now it's hard pressed for those independent movies, or even if they're studio films, but there's those type of dramas, and the independent filmmakers have those type of dramas right now that they're making. Going to theaters and making that type of money because it's not being supported.
Sure.
So I hope that can inspire filmmakers to do that.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the audiences, do you have a message or experience that you hope that the audience might take away from Lumina?
I hope that it take away that UFOs and alien abductions and alien phenomena is real. Um, I've spoken to a lot of people um, in the military, Navy, Army, everything, every branch, and they gave their story in terms their real story, their true story of the experience of this type of phenomena. And I hope people walk away from this movie saying, well, you know what? Anything is possible in this world.
Agreed. I do agree with it. Gosh, you've just been so busy. You have so many wonderful stories. I can't wait to finish writing this article. Um,
Thank you so much.
yeah.
It's been an
So what
absolute pleasure.
I know you're going to be really busy continuing to promote this and your showings, but do you have any ideas of what you want to do next?
I have two movies lined up. One
Oh,
I'm writing right now. Let us two sci-fi movies actually. But one I wrote with Michael Sloan, who did Equalizer and Equalizer 2 with Denzel Washington. He's the writer and producer and the creator of the Equalizer series, TV series, and also the writer and producer of the feature film with Denzel. I wrote a script with him um, based on time travel and yeah, I guess sci-fi and time, just sci-fi, but it's time travel and other things, aliens. So I wrote that with Michael. Michael and I wrote that. He's going to be producing that with me. I'm directing that, and yeah, I'm hoping to venture into that after this.
lovely.
God willing, this does well. Let's see.
Yay.
I'm
Well, we're
hoping.
the Hollywood Times official is our YouTube channel. Um, HollywoodTimes.net is our YouTube. The Hollywood.Times is our Instagram. And so how can our viewers and readers find out about you, more about you, and find the film?
Um, we're on social at Lumina the movie. Lumina.film is a website. I'm Gino McKoy, GINOMCKY. I'm on Instagram, Twitter, and all the other social platforms. Check us out there, where you can go straight on Gold Love Pictures or Lumina the movie on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, or YouTube, and check the movie out. Check the trailers out, and you could buy tickets in advance. You could, enter the sweepstakes. We have a sweepstakes going on right now. It's the grand prize is a space rover from the movie. It was actually taken from the Fast and Furious 9 lot. It wasn't used, and we retrofitted it, and we created a space rover, and that's one of the prizes. And the other five prizes is 10,000 US. So you share the trailer on your social media, Facebook, Instagram or TikTok, or you buy a ticket and you get entered into the draw to
Yay,
win.
Gino. How
So check it
fun.
out.
Excellent. Well, you continue to keep us posted on your creativity and all your films that you're going to be working on. And I'm excited to get to meet you virtually, and maybe we can meet in person one day. I hope so.
I hope so too. Thank you
Yay.
so much. It's a
Thank you
pleasure.
so much. Excellent. All right. Have a great rest of your day.
You too. Take care.